everyone, you're welcome to today's class. Okay, in today's class I'll be teaching you how to make a V-shaped turban cap. Okay, and the materials involved for today's class is we have a star feather here. Okay, we have our flat straw mats. Okay, we have our fabric. This is a stretchy taffeta. You can use any fabric of choice. You can use poly, you can use velvet, any material you come across. You can also use a satin material. Okay, but for today's tutorial, I'll be using a velvet, a stretchy taffeta. And we have a matching color thread. Please note, whatever thing you're doing, make sure you're using a matching color thread. Okay, and we have our adhesive here. We have tape for measuring. We have our brooch. This is I picked this one, as in they poured it. This is okrika, should I say okrika stone or okrika brooch. So whatever brooch you come across, you can buy the already made or you can buy any one you see. Okay, just for embellishment. And our scissors, of course, for cutting, and needle for sewing. All right, let's get into the video. All right, the next thing I'll be doing, I'll be taking the head circumference from the stretchy parts. Please make sure you're using the stretch parts. In case you're using a stretchy fabric, make sure the head circumference should be starting from the stretchy part. Okay, so I'll be measuring my head circumference. Since I'm making a V shape, the measurement I'll be taking is 14 inches, which is here 14 inches, 14.5 inches, that is 14.5 inches. Then the length is 15.5 inches. Okay, 14.5 inches for the head circumference, then the length is 15.5 inches. All right, I'll be cutting it down to that part. I have my 15.5 inches. I'll cut this in two places because I'll be making a V with it, so I'll be needing a two fabric. Okay, so you cut 14 by 14.5 for the head circumference and 15.5 for the width. Cut it in two places. All right, I'll be cutting it off my camera. This is what I have. So the next thing I'll be doing, I'll be folding. I will take my measurement 3.5 like this. Then I will fold it inside small first like this, then take the other one to that place I have my 3.5. okay, I'll be folding it inward like this, very small. You take ½ inch inside, then you fold it twice because I don't want this rough edge to show. If not, I'm supposed to do it this way, but since I want a neat work, I'll be folding it twice like this. Then you fold it again to where you have your 3.5, which is this place. Okay, after folding it, you take it to your machine. So but if you're not an expertise, okay, if you've never done a V shape like this, I will advise you to use a pin on each of the pleats you make. So you pin it down in 4 or 3 places like this before you proceed by sewing it on your machine. All right, this is what I've achieved so far. So the next thing I'll be doing, I will be flipping it to the other side. So you take it to your sewing machine, you sew from this end down to this end, then you flip it to this other side like this. You flip it like this. Then I'll be measuring 2.5. okay, 2.5 inches from that edge, that first edge you have. You measure 2.5 inches. Then you take from that 2.5 inches down like this to this other side. Make sure, if you check, you're seeing the previous split we did, make sure it should be coming upward. Then your sewn part should be downward. That is below, that is at the edge of the second pleat. That is the previous split. Okay, hope you understand what I mean. This is what I'm saying. This was the previous split I made. So the second one you'll be making should be coming this way. Then your sewn part should be under at the edge of your second pleat. So this is what I'll be doing. Just take a look at what I'm talking about. Don't bring it to this side, because if you bring your machine to this side, you end up messing your work and your thread will be obvious. So you pin it down. This place I'm pinning, this is where I'll be sewing. Okay, you take it downward. You continue like that till you achieve the number of pleats you want. Okay, so I'll be making 4 or 5 or 6 pleats depending on what you want. I'll still take the same thing, the same 2.5 inches. You fold, start from that 2.5, then bring it forward down to that your sewn part. Now let's assume this pin now I pin is the sewn part. You'll be covering it. Make sure you cover it. Don't let your sewing to be obvious. Okay, make sure you cover it. That's what I'm explaining, using my pin first for your better understanding. So this is how you keep doing it till you achieve the number of pleats you want. All right, let me take it to my sewing machine.